Now, I've talked about Catholic answers before, and the fact that they really don't have any answers, but I didn't think they'd be so blatant about it. Here we see Trent Horn say that if you're not good at apologetics, if you just don't know what to say, if you have nothing at all to present to unbelievers, you can just fake it. But isn't that what all apologists do? So here are 3 dishonest secrets to sharing the faith. Thanks, guys.
That many people become overwhelmed when they try to take what they've learned in all of these books and CDs and share it in a conversation with friends or family.
It honestly shouldn't be overwhelming if you have any grasp on the subject material whatsoever. If you understand what's being said and are comfortable with the points being expressed, passing that information on to other people, that can't be that hard. But the problem is, there aren't any actual points to be understood. There isn't a logical progression through which you can work and show others how you were convinced by the information that you're presenting. It's all faith. It isn't logically laid out. It's just rote memorization that has to be regurgitated. Not because it makes any sense, but because that's what you're supposed to do. And that's fundamentally problematic.
People tell me, well, I can't remember all those Bible verses, or I just can't seem to find the right words to say. But here's where I want to share with you the secret to doing apologetics.
And the secret is, don't worry about it. But that's the difference between apologetics and facts. In apologetics, you're supposed to talk someone into a belief. Facts don't require you to be convincing. They just require you to present the evidence and let it speak for itself. But religion has no evidence to present. It only has blind faith. You can't produce objective evidence that shows that there's a legitimate reason to accept its conclusions. It can only rely on making emotional arguments that don't stand up to the light of scrutiny. If you can't parrot back all those verses, if you can't regurgitate all those empty claims, well, you really have nothing else to say, do you?
This is especially helpful when you're just starting out as an apologist, and you don't know a lot of answers to questions right off the top of your head. But remember, you don't always need the answers. You just need the right questions to help another person come to know the truth.
Well, maybe if you have no answers, you shouldn't try doing it. You ever think of that? Of course not. That would make sense. I would never tell a grade school student to go teach a class on college-level physics. They're just not qualified to do so. They don't know the basics. They don't have a handle on the information that they need to pass on. So if you want to do it, and I don't care how much you really want to teach physics at the university level, you've got to grow and learn a lot more before you can ever get to that point.
You, the listener, get to hear apologetics in action. You get the opportunity to learn how to defend your faith.
Yes, you should engage in dishonest debate tactics. Instead of trying to show why your beliefs are factually true and rationally accurate, put the burden of proof on the other side to prove why they don't take your beliefs seriously. Instead of having an intellectual discussion, reduce it to a war of emotions. Welcome to religion, people.
By listening to a real, unscripted conversation.
A real, unscripted conversation as she's reading from a book telling her what to say. Sure, I buy that.
Do you think, though, that even if we didn't have religion, people would find reasons to go to war with each other?
All right, I'm going to stop it here and agree that yes, we would probably find reasons to go to war with each other, but the difference is that those reasons to go to war would be much more rational than my imaginary friend in the sky told me to hate you. You can sit down and have an intellectual discussion and work out real-world issues between reasonable people. It's when you start bringing in magical thinking and blind faith, where two sides are screaming at each other over their own personal delusions, that having a conducive discussion becomes largely impossible. It becomes little more than, my God told me that I could have that hunk of land. No, my God told me I could have it. Heretic! Infidel! Die, die, die! Nobody's God told anyone because none of your gods demonstrably exist in the real world. You both need to grow the fuck up.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And actually, it's odd, but my daughter, who doesn't have a religion because her father's Catholic and I'm Jewish, she actually said to me the other day, I think I need to find my faith. She's 25 years old.
And what does any of that have to do with this question? Not a damn thing. And your daughter has no religion because you're Jewish and your husband is Catholic. Are those not religions? You act like that's somehow an explanation for why she doesn't have one.
What historians can you cite that believe Jesus did not exist?
Well, I can't cite one off the top of my head. I can. There are a lot of them, but it's meaningless because the non-believer isn't the one making the claim. The believer is. Therefore, it rests on the believer to back up their claims. As a skeptic, I never had the burden of proof because I'm not making any claims. I'm just not taking the claims that you are making seriously. You've given me no reason to. You've presented no evidence that would convince me that you have the slightest idea that you know what the hell you're talking about. But of course, the apologist is trying to turn this all into an emotional discussion, not a rational one, because they have nothing rational at all to present.
Not just one thing, but all we have to do is to make an act of faith in Jesus. Where does it say that?
Oh, that's a good question, and honestly, I'm not quite sure. It's just kind of what I've been taught.
But in this case, at least, the person on the phone actually made a claim, and you would expect them to be able to back it up. They need to present evidence or retract the claim, just like you do. Yet in the majority of religious debates that I see, it's always framed so that the theist is making the claim, and in every single case, without exception, the theist fails to support their claim. Most of the time, they don't even try.
And that's what I want to teach you in the course of this video.
How to skirt around the requirement to back up your claims by shifting the burden of proof.
How to be an apologist.
Or how to use fast-talking to defend a view for which you have absolutely no legitimate evidence whatsoever.
Or how to be someone who uses arguments and dialogue in order to defend the Catholic faith.
And so, as expected, this was just the way to chicken shit your way out of having an intelligent discussion with a non-believer. And this is unfortunately very commonplace. Now, to their credit, I have, on rare occasion, seen apologists say, well, I honestly don't know the answer to that question. Let me find out and I'll get back to you. That's refreshingly honest. It doesn't happen very often, and that's unfortunate because maybe apologists would be more respectable if it did. But this is someone trying to sell the gullible religious a course on how to defend their faith, and then tell them if they didn't learn anything from the course, just to engage in fallacious debate that's downright stupid and dishonest. I think you should refund these people's money because you didn't do a very good job. But you have to remember, this is a channel that doesn't allow comments at all. Apparently, they don't want to hear any feedback from their viewing audience. Why? Because they know they're wrong, and they're just not honest enough to admit it. Is anyone at all surprised?